That's a new road that we added this year for access. Really critical to get back to a prime stand location we developed with a lot of work, adding a water hole, mock scrape. We'll add the stand later, and we add the roads coming in here. That really brings up the question of what do you plan on your roads and why? And we've gone over this in other videos, but I wanted to show you this road. It's beautiful, and how I expect our trails and roads to actually look and blend into the environment, into the woods. A lot of times I go to properties, and this is a new road right behind me, and you'll see all the debris off to the sides walled up along the edge from dozers, and it turns into a cattle chute. And what I found time and time again, it doesn't matter if you're creating deer trails, doesn't matter if you're windrowing trees around a food plot, those solid walls of brush have a habit of spooking mature bucks, especially bucks that aren't as familiar with the area. Maybe you're doing a great job. They only come in during the fall. They're not there all spring and summer. That often is an indication you're doing a great job. When they come in, they see these walls, they don't like it. And so, for one, you can see this road behind me. It actually snakes around, goes to the left, goes back out to the field. It's a giant S, and then it curves around the water hole up here. So you get rid of those, get rid of that debris. Make sure it curves through here. Bucks can't stand those straight lines. So if we have this blind back here and you have 3 shooting lanes going out, that's a real big no-no when it comes to mature buck hunting. They'll a lot of times go around the end of the shooting lanes because they don't want to cross those straight lines. In a mature buck's world and older does, even a trail cam box that's not hidden spooks deer. So imagine those straight lines, the little box spooking deer, let alone a big blind, let alone roads. Nothing is straight except trees that go up in a deer's world. Think about it. So I don't want straight trails. I want everything natural. I want everything curved. And then when it comes to planting these roads and how to actually put something on here, this is not a food source. I think turkeys will love it. Let's say it's a 2, 2.5 out of 10, maybe a 3 out of 10 for deer. But all our food plots are 8 to 10 out of 10. The browse they have in the woods is more like a 4 or 5 out of 10. Fresh, tender shrub, hardwood regeneration, briar tips. That's all in higher value. That's where they live, and they live back in these bedding areas during the daylight. That's what they hit. People say, well, I want to plant on my trails to put food on, so I get more food overall on my property. It's a really bad thing, because if you have to access through here, then you're spooking deer on those trails. You're bringing deer to your feet. I saw a long time ago, a habitat manager, they put 100 rubs or scrapes down, 100 scrapes overhanging the main access that went through 160 acres right down the middle trail. So in theory, all those bucks are attracted, which they aren't because of a whole bunch of scrapes. That was another thing. But if they were, the hunters have to use that road. Now you're attracting all the bucks to that road, and then you just spook them off. And when you spook a buck in the UP of Michigan, big wilderness areas, big wooded areas, they travel a half mile, 3/4 mile more, and you spook them once or twice, they're not coming back. So a really bad thing. That's no different than putting a high quality food source on this. Let's say we open the sunlight, put beans on here, and then we walk through here, spook deer, brassica, solid clover. That'd be a bad thing. So I want something more like a dirty lawn, because I want this to hold soil. And what we've thrown in here, this is annual rye as a cover crop. Then you can see all the goodness that's coming in here. You can see all the little bits of grass down here that's coming in. You can see vetch, clover, there's birdfoot trefoil. What that's all designed to do is hold the soil with a little bit left over. We're going to be able to mow this. We don't want this to come in and be 4 feet tall, almost prohibitive. We want it to be something we can walk on, not leave a lot of scent because we mow it. It's down, it's soft, it's not making a lot of noise. We've mowed trails through switchgrass before for hunter access, and then you walk through over that switchgrass. It's like walking on a bunch of broken toothpicks. It makes a lot of noise. But look how natural and clean this looks in through here. It looks beautiful. I'm sure this will be full of rubs, scrapes. This winds through here, and you can see we plant the same mix around our water holes. Again, we don't want this to be a food source. We want them coming back here, hit the water, and then getting out of here. We don't want them to linger along. We want them to actually go to the food sources. I heard of a Texas deer manager, and he almost lost his job. Let's say he was managing a few thousand acres. He had food scattered so much over the property that his clients weren't actually seeing the deer and getting shots at bucks because It fragmented where those bucks were in such a high degree across the land that they could step out of a trail anywhere to Sundero and hit spread corn or bait piles or food plots. There's so much food on the property that it made it impossible to hunt those deer. I want separation of food. So I don't want quality food on all my trails and not giving those deer a reason to actually leave their bedding and go to a distant high quality food source. That's what's great about public land. You know they're feeding here at this clear cut, and you know they're bedding there on the edge of that swamp where it's thick and there's a high stem count where there's lots of brush and regen growing. You know it, you just look at it. That's where they're going. We really mess it up on private land a lot. We think, well, we got to add more food, or more food's better, right? Think of all your trails. And we have miles of trails out here. We could probably add 10 acres of food, but it would be a very bad thing when it relates to how we want to shoot these deer. And that Texas deer manager, when he called on someone else for some help, they came out and said, you have too much food. Instead of 20% in food on this property, you need 5%. Make the deer travel to those quality food sources. They will. And then your hunters can get those shots. And it's not any different than if you own land and you want those deer to travel. You don't want food everywhere. That's why we don't add food in bedding areas or bedding area roads. We don't want food back there. We want those deer to have a mid-range value food to browse, 4 or 5 out of 10, 3 out of 10, and then go to the 10 out of 10. And that's where it becomes a lot easier to kill them. Doesn't matter if it's public land and you find it and you scout it, or private land and you build it. And so that's what we have in this mix right here. So we have actually 4 different types of grass: vetch, clover, bird's foot trefoil. And again, when we mow this, it makes a very soft approach. And then also when we get around our water holes, this becomes a high traffic site, almost like wallowing around here. Lots of tracks coming in and hitting this water hole. We still have to fill it. Those deer come in and they hit this water hole and they track this area up. And so if it's just clover, what we found out over the last decade is that if we had clover planted around here, it looks really pretty. But sometime in August, September, when they start hitting this water hole more and into October, every hoof track that's going down in tow digs up that clover. Pretty soon it's just a big dirt wallow around here. It's not holding any soil at all. I found these water holes work really well when they're in a nice little clearing like this that we made. And then you have green that actually holds almost like a dirty lawn. They can come in and out of this water, track it all up, and not wreck it. So think about that with your trails, with your roads, with your water holes you're building. Think about what you can plant that actually holds the soil, is more low quality, shade tolerant, and that's what we came up with this mix that we do. There's a shady road mix that we found in one location. It was almost all clover, and it would get destroyed by vehicle traffic and hoof traffic really quick. There is I think they call it BLM4. It's a mix you put out in the pasture areas, mostly grass, meant for more out in the pasture areas in sunlight. So we wanted to come up with a shady grass mix that we could add some of those clover components, bird's foot trefoil, vetch to, so that we can actually make it more like that dirty lawn that has a little bit of it. It's just all this ryegrass in here, than to have zero attraction. We wanted it to have enough attraction that a deer can just take a nibble on the way through, but not such an attraction that we're pulling deer into these trail systems so that we can't get in and out of the stands and use these trails to actually access for hunting. So consider a mix like that. What should you plant on your trails? Something that doesn't attract deer to your feet, something that holds the soil, something that deer can actually walk on, that you can drive on and not destroy. And that's why we come up with a mix like that. And there are a lot of reasons for not planting high quality food on a trail to access your deer stand. You want to make these trails flowing, really pretty. If it's on the outside of your property and you're accessing, this road right here, we actually use to bring water in and go back out. We don't access this way for hunting. This side wraps around and goes straight. The straight roads we use for access. The curvy roads we use for deer and getting in and out and not spooking deer. So just a few tips of what to do with your roads. There's so much online and people trying to sell you stuff and trying to get you to buy the latest, greatest, telling you need to have food out here, making you spend your hard-earned dollars. Is something we plant once and forget about it. Not something you plant every year. It's something we mow for a lifetime. We can use it for decades to come. And that's kind of the goal out here. Not spooking deer, not bringing deer to your feet, holding soil, something that'll last, something you can mow, something that's quiet, walking in and out. And that'll put you in the right direction for maintaining your trails, possibly planting your trails, adding new roads on your land for this fall. It's Monday, and that means big shipment time for seeds. We have a lot of orders over the weekend, and Daryl in New York, he bought a lot of seed. In fact, a lot of this pallet is his. We've shipped to 48 states so far. We haven't shipped any to Alaska and Hawaii, but Daryl, we have some extra goodies coming your way. We appreciate it. We'll try to do that every week too. So we really thank you guys. This is that time of year. We have lots of seed going out the door. Wes is working hard behind me, getting that out, and we try to get that out the next day after your order.